Okay, so we've just concluded an executive session, so I need to just read some technicalities and then we'll begin. The time is now 7:05 PM and the executive session has been concluded. The participants in the executive session were myself, Mayor Holly Rogan, Mayor Pro Tem Jocelyn Farrell, Trustee Ted Elton, Trustee Paula Williams, Trustee Tanya Dati, Trustee Glenn Delman, Trustee Greg Edding, Attorney Brandon Dittman, Administrator Victoria Simonson, and Town Clerk Dolores Vasquez. For the record, if any person who participated in the executive session believes that any substantial discussion of any matters not included in the motion to go into executive session occurred during the executive session, or that any improper action occurred during the executive session in violation of the open meetings law, I ask that you state your concerns for the record. Okay, I'll read our land acknowledgement. We must acknowledge with respect as non-native people that the land on which we stand, live, and learn is the traditional territory of the Ute, Cheyenne, and Arapaho peoples. We also recognize the 48 contemporary tribal nations that are historically tied to the lands that make up the state of Colorado. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
I motion to approve the agenda.
Thank you. Is there a second? Is there anything anyone would like to change? I would actually. So I would like to move general business item 1 regarding the revocation of a local business license to after audience business. And the reason I would like to move it is because I think it's of concern to a lot of people. And so if anybody online wishes to watch our discussion about it, I'd just like to have it earlier in the evening so folks don't have to stay up so late.
Okay.
So that's my motion. Is there a second?
I second.
Any discussion? Okay, we'll vote on it.
And that passes unanimously.
Thank you. And then we will vote on the agenda as amended.
And that motion also passes unanimously.
Okay. We'll take a reflective moment in silence with gratitude for the beautiful memorial to Priscilla Cohan that town staff helped with. Thank you. And now's the time for audience business. So any member of the audience online or in the room can address the Board of Trustees for any item that's not a public hearing. So the liquor license that we'll be talking about will be later in the agenda. You will have 3 minutes, and if you would state your name and address for the record, that would be great. Anyone in the room? Mr. Sparks? Come on up.
Good evening, trustees. Gil Sparks, 2169 Apple Valley Road. And I am here tonight representing Lions Community Foundation. We had a very successful grant awardees reception last night at the Farmette, and wanted to share a couple of things with you that you may or may not know about. I'll apologize to the mayor and trustee Dati because they were there. They're going to hear it again. And was there also Lions Community Foundation back in 2007, there were a group of local area residents who decided to establish the foundation in partnership with the Community Foundation of Boulder County. And due to the generosity of the community at the time, LCF started awarding grants in 2008. And since its inception, we've been able to award a little over $500,000 in grants to organizations, individuals, and the town of Lyons during that time period. So it's been a very good organization for the benefit of the community, and we hope to continue to grow it. As an example, in 2022, we had 17 grant applicants and we awarded a little over $42,000. In 2023, our applicant pool grew to 27 applicants, asking for $90,000 against our budget of $50,000. So for the first time, we were unable to fulfill all of the grant applicant needs, which is something we hope to do in the future budget committee, and you all know well about budgets. So we are going to be going out with the Lions Community Foundation annual appeal, which should be in the mailboxes sometime this week. You're gonna get a card like this. It's gonna have a nice QR code for those who want to use the QR code. Or you can get a return envelope to send your donation back in. Lions Community Foundation's request to all of you is to be a participant in our campaign at whatever level meets your budget, your heart, or whatever, to help the greater community and help us be able to have enough funds to meet all of the needs in the Lions Community Foundation next year. Thank you.
Thank you. It was a lovely event. Would anyone else in the room like to address the board? Come on up.
Thank you. I'm Edward Keene. I live at 228 Welch Drive. And I don't know if it's the COVID shot or the flu shot or whatever, but I just came here to appreciate some people and to thank them, in particular Mayor Rogan. She was kind enough to take her time and on October 27th, I think it was Friday, to go to Boulder County's Commissioners Electrify Everything event.
With trustee Duffy.
Pardon?
Trustee Duffy.
And trustee Duffy. And I just wanted to thank you for taking the time to do that. It's the, you know, it's not fun to talk about existential crises, things like that. But, and I have no choice but to try and continue. One of the panelists was a group that I started called Go Electric Colorado, along with some other folks. And it's having some really good success. We were panelists there alongside of the county commissioners, Rocky Mountain Institute, the city of Longmont, XL Energy, the executive director of the Colorado Department of Energy, which is where a lot of money is going to be able to come through and go to homeowners and businesses, et cetera, to help correct this very serious issue. The other thing that I admired about Mayor Rogan was I watched her sign a pledge, and it went something like this: as a dedicated leader in Boulder County who is deeply committed to solving the climate crisis, I wholeheartedly pledge to relentlessly champion an equitable transition to clean electric transportation and buildings. I will tirelessly strive to secure the necessary resources, advance bold policies, and back programs that accelerate this transformational change. Today, I stand shoulder to shoulder with my community and fellow leaders. She was there with a lot of folks in the room who signed this pledge with her, dedicating myself to do whatever it takes to electrify Boulder County, setting an inspiring example for others to follow. Together, we can create a just, healthy, and safe future for generations to come and my incoming granddaughter in a couple weeks. So thank you very much. Really appreciate that you guys went.
Thank you. And trustee Duffy also signed the pledge. Anybody else in the room wish to address the board? All right, anybody online wish to address the board tonight? Okay, doesn't look like it. Okay. So we amended the agenda and I would like to talk about general business item 1, which is discussion direction to staff regarding the revocation of local business license due to unpaid sales tax. Who would like to give a staff report?
Is Cassie on?
Cassie's there too. We can, we'll tag team this probably.
Okay,
we currently have a policy that a local business is not able to hold a business license or renew their liquor license if they are not up to date on paying their sales tax to the state or the local government. And we were notified that Diner Bar did not have a payment plan in place with the state to make up for their lack of payment over the past, don't know the exact number of months, but it's my understanding it goes back to their origination other than a month or two. And so we were working with Mr. Esserman, we were encouraging him to work with Department of Revenue to come up with a plan so that he could retain his business license and his liquor license. And he was not able to come up with that at this time. So he wrote us on Saturday to say that he is closing his business and that he will be liquidating his equipment in order to try to pay those taxes back. So that's the current status. Our code says that to revoke a local business license, the board may call for a public hearing. But now that he has chosen to close his doors himself, staff does not recommend that you need to hold a public hearing to revoke his business license. He's basically done that himself now that we've gotten a formal notice from him.
Attorney Dittman, Director Eystone, is there anything either of you would like to add?
The only thing I would add is that, you know, payment of sales tax itself is not a reason for non-renewable business of a liquor license, but you do need to pay your sales tax of a business license, which is why we had scheduled a revocation of the business license, consideration tonight, and that would lead to the non-renewal of a liquor license.
Director Eystone, do you have anything to add?
I don't. I think Administrator Simonson covered it pretty well. We have to be really careful on the information that we can provide on sales tax because we have an MOU or memorandum of understanding. So all sales tax data is pretty confidential. So the state just kind of cautioned us to be very general with the information that we're giving tonight.
Thank you. Go ahead, Attorney Dittman.
Yeah, Mayor Rogan, did you want me to talk about how sales tax works a little bit for the public? I know we had talked about that as maybe something we want to do tonight.
I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, so just for the public mostly and for the board as well, something to keep in mind with sales tax is that's money paid by the customers, right? And then is basically passed on to the state and then to the town. It doesn't come directly from the business in the sense they're paying it. The customers are the ones paying it on their bills. That's supposed to be, remitted to the state and then pass along to, the town. And so it really was, not passing along those customers, contributions, not a tax that the town imposed or anything of that nature. So just a little bit of a background how sales tax works.
Thank you. Are there any questions for staff?
I'm curious, so obviously this is a part of what's happening maybe at the state level, but is there a plan or a way that the town of Lyons will recoup that money that has not been paid, that should have been paid?
No, as a statutory town, the state Department of Revenue collects on our behalf and then distributes it back. So they're also responsible for collection and enforcement, both. So it's really, it is the state that recently conversed with Finance Director Eystone that they were going to send a team to work here or do whatever they're going to do to the business. But in the meantime, we received a formal notice from Mr. Esserman. So I don't know what the arrangement is. That the state will collect the taxes that are due since the customers paid those. And we'll work out a payment plan. And I believe Attorney Dittman, you said they have several means of doing that. A payment plan or a restitution process or liens or, I mean, it goes as far as even potential criminal activity if you don't pay them.
Yeah, this state has a variety of ways to collect the money, and that would be really between the state and Mr. Esserman. What all we need to be concerned about is the state will be one enforcing it for us, and then we'll receive the collections from the state.
Thank you.
I have a question and I get the feeling at our next EDC meeting, this will also be a topic of discussion. Because I think one of the main interests for the EDC is how do we incentivize and how do we keep our businesses here in Lyons? And so I'm already anticipating the question, how do we avoid future businesses from having this issue to begin with? Because I believe this is not the first time, and I'm afraid it might not be the last time. And so I'm just wondering, what can we do to avoid this? What can we do to, I mean, I know staff is working with them and notified them from the beginning, and maybe the state has been working with them as well. And I appreciate all of that. I know we have a revolving loan fund. I don't know that can be used. Normally it's just a transfer.
I think the answer to that is there is nothing we can do. It is incumbent upon the business to collect money and remit it. The money that they kept was not theirs.
Right.
And so there is absolutely, I mean, that is, there's not there, them's the rules.
Yeah.
And so, and there are state rules and there are fair rules, and it's up to the business to
Yeah.
operate within the boundaries of the law. Any other questions for staff? No, so it sounds like the thing to do is nothing. I will say I'm extremely disappointed.
Yeah.
This is theft. This is their customers paid taxes on their meals and their drinks with the understanding that those taxes would be remitted. We rely on sales tax for so many things in town to take care of our infrastructure, to do so many things. And when we plan on receiving it, yet don't receive it, it's cheating the whole time.
Yeah, I'd like to just add, I think one of the roles of government is to create a level playing field. And there's several other businesses in town very similar to this business, and they do pay their taxes.
Yes.
And so it's to do something to help one business because they can't do it. They're competing with other ones. We're violating level playing field. So, and I'd also like to state, when you're on the board, you learn about our town budget and you learn about retail leakage and how badly that's affecting this town. I've made decisions not to eat in Longmont and ate at the diner bar.
Right.
To pay my taxes here
Sure.
and realized that was never happened. I would have gone to eat at Longmont instead. So, because at least I would have gotten Boyle County taxes. So it's unexcusable.
Anybody else?
I just want to say, it also bothers me that the business, I'm sure, paid a very decent amount of money to repaint the building recently. It looks like a gender reveal gone bad. And that probably was money that was sales tax dollars that was supposed to be remitted to this town. And that just infuriates me.
So I guess my question, and maybe this is for Attorney Dittman, is how do we, I realize there's some confidentiality around with the, division of revenue. I'm just wondering, how are we able to know in the future whether we are supposed to continue supporting a business who is not remitting their sales tax?
And that may be a question for Director Eystone. Maybe you can talk about how and when we discover a business hasn't been remitting sales tax.
I look at this every month, and I have the list of local businesses and I check those every month. if I notice, that somebody is missing a month, I might wait another month to see if maybe they were just late, because that happens. And then I get in contact with the Department of Revenue at that time, and we start conversing at that time. As far as notifying the Board of Trustees, I might need to reach out to the Department of Revenue to see at what level reporting that kind of information is something that we can do. As far as, instead of waiting until it gets to this point. I will tell you that there are times that we put in audit requests, and those formal audit requests go to the Department of Revenue, and they can take years. Recently, last year, we received an audit resolution from a request that was submitted before my time, and it finally got resolution. So the Department of Revenue moves very slowly. They're very busy. Obviously, they're the keeper of the sales tax for many municipalities. But as far as letting the board know, I think I would have to reach out to the Department of Revenue, just so that I can make sure that I'm not doing something that's outside of that MOU.
Yeah.
Because you would think that after a year of not remitting their sales tax, that we should all be maybe switching businesses to people who are transferring their sales tax. And I agree with Trustee Betty on that.
So Trustee Dottie, Victoria and I and Mayor Rogan, talked about this morning, and we agree we need to reach out to the DOR to figure out what the parameters are. Because really the requirement is under the MOU with the DOR and not elsewhere under state law. So it really is up to the DOR as to what extent can that information be made public. I think as a principle, we should meet, immediately when someone's late, we should be putting out this information. It's really the point when it's so serious where a business license, revocation's at stake is really, at least for now on our current understanding, what the guiding principle is.
Okay, well then, we will move on to staff reports. Thank you very much. Boulder County Sheriff report.
Good evening. Kind of got a lot, like a busy couple of weeks, but start off with was last weekend. Yes, we had this huge auto theft, carjacking guy come to town. It started up in Loveland. Long story, but he made his way through town. When he came through town, he was in a stolen car at a Longmont, but we were not, like, cops weren't on him, so we had no idea where he went. But our lock camera is what found him essentially. He came out as attempted carjacking at the market, but I think the guy was surprised. He opened the door and kind of screamed oh, scared him because he thought no one was in it. And there was a lady in town that was in it. So he took back off in his truck, and that call actually, coming through town, it could go two different ways, but he drove wrong way on Broadway and then went up South St. Vrain. So we had deputies up there that found him, pursued him. He went into a dead end and got out on foot, and then they called a SWAT team, got activated, and then went up there, searched for him, tracked him to a house that found out that those nice people gave him a ride to Longmont. And then Longmont was able to intercept him. So, but yeah, it was quite a fiasco for sure. So I sent out some information that the town pushed out to the town about just being smart and locking your stuff up. Most crimes, crime of opportunity. So if you're gonna leave your car keys in your car unlocked, your house unlocked, eventually someone's gonna come through and come into your house, steal your car and stuff like that. So I know the times of leaving everything unlocked. I feel like some people still are like that. But those times are gone. And I can promise you, if you continue to do that, you're going to get, some type of, property crime or even worse. So the last thing you want is someone coming in your house in the middle of the night, which happens. So just be cautious of that and just be a hard target. And, the world's changing, and there's a lot of bad people out there, and Lions is kind of, often a special place, which it is, but what was it? Almost 2 years ago to the date, we had a huge crew come through town, and basically everything that wasn't bolted down was stolen. So My goal was to get ahead of this and prevent that, because the crew, I've linked a bunch of cases, mostly because of flock, but we had 2 auto thefts, one day apart, in town, and keys and cars unlocked, so. And there was a few other outside of town that kind of made their way through town. But hopefully we had a battle, op, which is, it's, ran by the state patrol, but it's beat auto theft through law enforcement. And so, when I was a detective, I was on that task force, and we have other detectives that are on that task force, and they did a big, they do them once in a while, multi-agency operation, basically going out and, trying to find stolen cars and arrest people, and they had a lot of success. And one of the suspects, that we was involved in some of these auto thefts. He wasn't caught, the car he was in was caught. They missed him by like 3 seconds, but, so we know who he is. So hopefully ever since that, things have slowed down. So, I'm hoping it's because people are locking their cars and their houses. So, please do that. And then, speaking of blocks, so CDOT finally approved cameras that go in the right of way. It's a lot of paperwork, but there's a couple steps it has to go through, but, I'm working on that so we can get the other 2 cameras up. So we'll have 3. So basically every entrance into town will have a camera. So those things have proved time after time that they're very valuable. So, and then, the Spooktacular Parade, unfortunately, it was canceled, but I think that was a good choice. The weather was pretty terrible. So, and then, co-responders. So I know, after Lynette left, she was up here full time. She went up to Maryland to kind of build a mountain program, which she's done great up there. Huge loss to us, but, we had Sarah up here kind of part-time. They've since kind of reformed and changed some things, and some people have been promoted, so they're trying to restructure things. So currently we don't have anyone in town. However, you know, anytime they're on, we have services. So, anyone in town needs help with, if they're on, they work, some days like 6 to 8 p.m. So if they're working, we still use their services. So we just don't have that connection in town, which is unfortunate, but hopefully in the future we will. Just some third quarter stats from them, just to kind of explain why we don't have anyone full-time up here, but there's been just over 1,100 calls for them this year. And we've only had 49 of those in town, versus like Lafayette is like over 40%. They've had like 476. In total of unincorporated Boulder County has been just over 200. So, we're definitely not the lowest other than like the rural areas. But we still have those services. So if anyone needs those, we still have those available. Let's see. Some stats are kind of about the same. Calls are up a little bit from last year. 200, just over 222 this year versus just under 1,700 from last year. And that's mostly traffic stops, extra patrols, welfare checks, safe details, and medicals are up from last year. So nothing tremendous. Safe details are just anonymous tips for schools. So those have every year go up. So that's kind of that. Tickets were at 530 versus 295 from last year. 29 for October and 27 from October of last year. So about the same. Our play hits are going down in town. I know it's only because we have 1 camera right now, but 69 this month or last month. Traffic's starting to go down with the winter coming here. So I think the last weekend of October was the very lowest. That Sunday, I think there was only like just 1,700 cars that came through town, so it's pretty low. So, any questions on the stats?
Yeah, I was looking at the stats and I did see, maybe I'm reading too much into the data here, but like suicide attempts went from 2 to 7. I mean, that's 3 times.
From last year?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it just depends. So we have like, just depends on what that dispatcher, wherever the call taker gets that information. So it is a suicidal person, so it may be an attempt or just a suicidal person. So they might, you know, label a call, you know, an attempt versus just a suicide person. Unfortunately, mental health is very bad right now, and it has been, and hence the co-responders, and that's a smaller group. But yeah, that's definitely on the rise.
And then I noticed the welfare check was up from 44 to 63, so
Yeah.
that's quite a bit. And I just saw those two. I don't know if I should take it with a grain of salt because I know the stats aren't exactly right. But it would be interesting if the core responders can make any observation from that.
Yeah, and I've been in contact with them and especially like Mitch, like he uses them a lot at the schools.
Yeah.
And, you know, him and Lynette had a close relationship and, there's just a lot of, you know, kids and families that need help. So that was one of the, you know, big losses, that we left, but we still use them. They, you know, can come from Boulder or Erie, wherever, whoever's available will come. So I'm hoping, that, you know, we can get someone up here full time like we had Lynette. I know they're still building their, I don't know what you want to call them, their business or, their team. But, you know, I don't see them going away anytime soon. I think they started a few years back in just grant funding.
Yeah.
But now there's been so much success and they're amazing. Like every referral we give them, you know, we get positive feedback from them, so.
Any other questions for Sergeant Peters? Here's hoping we can get the co-responder program more robust, because I think everybody thinks it's a success, so it'd be great to have somebody embedded in the community.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, appreciate you and your team, and thank you, and be safe.
All right, thanks.
Hey, administrators report.
Thank you. Mine will be short tonight. As you know, there's lots of construction still going on in town, which is awesome to see in November. We oftentimes do that. So Broadway Avenue continues with their concrete pouring, and the project on the south side is a different group from the north side. So both are able to continue, which is great. You may have noticed some of the concrete work was also done around the schools recently. And today they started the patching and asphalt repaving in areas that were failing through town. So I think you're gonna see that the rest of this week. And then the striping and signage will go in. So should be busy all month here. And then next week starts street sweeping. So we try to do that twice a year always, and this is to help keep leaves and debris from going down the storm drain and directly into the river. So we really strongly encourage people not to put your leaves into the street. I don't know that we have a specific code against it, but I don't know if people don't realize that's where that ends up and just really creates an imbalance in the river if you get all that organic material there. So please just be responsible homeowners, bag your leaves, or if you're able to be in a situation where you can burn those, do that. And then street sweeping will start and get the roads cleaned up before winter comes. And then everything runs off in the spring, of course. So we've just been busy internally on budget and personnel issues recently. And as Sergeant Sears mentioned, the Spooktacular was postponed, but ended up all being fine. We had a great turnout, and we'll be revisiting how we want to proceed with that moving forward. We recently found out that a couple other communities that are located on state highways are facing similar issues. And we're not the only ones having to make potential changes just to the way we are used to doing things, because other agencies and entities need to use that highway as well. So we're gonna do a little, maybe a survey, maybe some debriefing on how that went, and is it possible to change that up a little bit from how we've been doing it to cost less money and less last minute changes like had to happen. So other than that, the only other thing was that the mayor and I did hear from Chief Zick, and he did want to let us know that he is taking a new position at the end of the year. And did not want us to hear that from the rumor mill, so. We will be working with them over this coming month on fire mitigation grants and strategies. While he is still part of Lions Fire Protection District. We have that, trying to get that scheduled yet this week or next. So as not to lose any traction there.
You have questions for Administrator Simonson? Go ahead.
I have a question and an addition to upcoming events. So just for the public record, I would love for people to know exactly how much security and barricades along a state highway would cost for a parade, like just for the spectacular, how much money did we save by moving it to a park?
By not having it that night, we saved about $6,500 is what we paid to have that parade. The barricade company and the extra duty officers on Main Street. So it's a significant amount that we invest for that parade. We'll do it again on Holiday Parade of Lights. So, you know, if there's a possibility of moving it to High Street, that's not a state highway, or to a, you know, to another location, we might take a look at that. I know people really get, we get used to doing things, tradition and events like that, but sometimes we do need to make adjustments for safety. It is also one of the law enforcement will tell you. Parades on busy streets are coming to an end because of some of the terrible things we see people in cars do.
Yeah.
And so it doesn't hurt us to think about this now and maybe just alter a few things to make it very, you know, just as successful, but take people out of harm's way.
Thank you. I'm glad you brought that up. So with that, I'm wondering if there's something we can do with those cost savings to spur business downtown, like you and I talked about,
Yes.
Potential vouchers
Yes,
for people.
so we are looking at something different this year in the event area. You're going to see, I think you're already seeing the investment that we are making in Main Street on, you know, the lighting that has changed has really made that very attractive to be on. During our holiday lighting, you're going to see that stepped up another notch. I think you'll be really thrilled with how, especially the 400 block will be looking. This year we want to do a formal tree lighting ceremony in Sandstone Park. And we want to really encourage, it will be the Friday after Thanksgiving. And we really want to encourage all families to come downtown, have dinner or, you know, and come to the tree lighting and then, you know, or go out afterwards, whatever that might be. We've also talked about if we can save in our budget $6,500 for barricades and extra duty, we would be able to do something more like offering, maybe we do formal costume contests by age groups, and the reward for that is, or award for that is, gift certificates downtown to restaurants and businesses. So we think that there's a couple things we can do this year to help bring people downtown. We would love to have, you know, a stronger chamber to work with, because it is hard to work with individual businesses on very last minute things like that. You know, the barricades and the sheriff needed 48 hours notice, or we were going to get charged either way. So we were trying to make a call about a weather event that no one knows if it's going to come to fruition. And, you know, we're put in a really tight spot for that one. And we can talk to a few businesses, but it's so different for everybody. All the businesses are so different when it comes to, you know, do people really frequent your business? Maybe if you're a restaurant and bar, they do, but not necessarily if you're, you know, selling a product of another type. So it's just, it was a very difficult position to be in, but Kim and our Main Street group and our EVC are all very much aware that there were some businesses that feel they were affected that night by the lack of a parade. we have one coming up here in just a few weeks again, so. We can encourage people to do that, and hopefully this tree lighting will be another new support for downtown.
That's great, thank you. So two things. One, if possible, it'd be great to have music at the tree lighting. And,
And we're thinking about having it piped down Main Street
oh, nice,
during the holiday.
nice. And then if we could, maybe include in an e-blast that applications to be in the parade are open. And we don't want to find ourselves in the same situation we did a couple years ago where it's like there weren't enough applications to be in the parade. So maybe we could start promoting that now.
We are. It's
Okay.
already been in the newsletter that went out the day after the.
Oh, great.
Spectacular.
And I hear we have a new Santa.
For all the children watching this meeting.
Okay.
Emerson, no, no, we will, Santa's going to be visiting Lions as he always does, and I think he'll be back on the fire truck this year.
Oh, great.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So my duties will be different.
You won't have to drive the golf cart this year.
It was fun for the record. Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah. We do have a finance portion. I don't know if you want us to get into detail since you just had a budget retreat. But, Director Eystone can certainly go through that quickly if you want her to.
What do we think? Do we want Director Eystone to go through the financials?
Been through them, so I don't.
You good?
We're good.
I forward them to the EDC.
Oh,
Okay.
They'll see the sales.
She's
tax,
good.
The uptick in sales tax for
Okay.
July and August.
Yeah, there was an uptick.
Mhm.
Okay, no, I think we're good. Thank you, Director Eystone. Okay, legal update.
Thank you, Mayor Rogan. So I want to update the board on a class action settlement that the town has an opportunity to be a part of. So occasionally from time to time, the town will receive notices that a class has formed regarding a lawsuit of some kind where there's an opportunity at least to join that settlement. And this one is one you may have heard about in the news a little bit. It's for PFAS, which is for per and polyfluoroalkyl substances. Kind of hard to say, but PFAS is what we call them. And these are what we more commonly known as forever chemicals, where chemicals that are basically stick around forever. And they've been linked to a whole range of reproductive issues in humans, in addition to kidney, testicular cancer, really just kind of understanding the full extent to which they cause damage to human health. These are found mostly in firefighting foams, is particularly where they're found. But in other industrial substances as well. And what has happened is a number of municipal water systems have sued the manufacturers and state attorney generals representing those water systems. Have sued the manufacturers of those chemicals, primarily 3M and DuPont. 3M agreed to a $10.3 billion settlement, and DuPont agreed to a $1.185 billion settlement. With a number of parties as part of what we call multi-district litigation through the South Carolina Federal District Court. And so at this point, now that litigation is settled, all municipal water systems may join in on that settlement and may be eligible for compensation to essentially install devices that help, clean out the water from these substances. At this stage, the decision point is whether the town wants to basically fill out the questionnaire necessary to determine whether or not we're eligible, as an initial stage. And then if we're determined to be eligible potentially to join the settlement, then there'll be some additional requirements, primarily for water monitoring about whether or not you can get money. If you can detect these kinds of substances in the water system. But what we're asking for of the board tonight and what this update's really about is whether or not we can fill out the questionnaire to figure out whether or not we're eligible to join the settlement. And if we are, then we'll come back with a settlement agreement for the board to approve. There is no cost to the town. There's nothing we need to do really. If we're eligible, we'll get money. If we're not eligible, we won't. So that's, kind of what my update's on. So, and I'm looking for direction on whether or not we can fill out that survey or not.
What do we think? Do we fill out the survey?
it's right here.
Yes. Okay, that's a yes, Attorney Dittman. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. Any questions for Attorney Dittman about any matters? Okay, great.
Remember to vote. Tomorrow's election day if you haven't done so already.
Yeah, vote. Tomorrow's election day, otherwise known as, we appreciate our clerks day.
Do we know whether our ballot box is open?
It is.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And the ballot box will be open tomorrow, correct?
Yeah, from 7 to 7.
From
Thank
7
you.
to 7. So
Thank
if
you.
you haven't turned in your ballot, do it. Okay. All right, is there a motion to convene as the Lions Liquor Licensing Authority?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, we'll vote.
And that motion passes unanimously.
All right, we are convened as the Lions Liquor Licensing Authority. This is a public hearing for a new retail FMB wine license submitted by Everyday Store LLC located at 4065 Ute Highway. Is there a staff report?
Yes, let me pull that up. Maria actually worked on this. This was her first staff report, and I think she did a pretty good job. Application was submitted on October 6th. They did have a company come in and canvass the area. They canvassed several neighborhoods, and all of those signatures were there attached. All of the forms were complete. The payment was made. The zoning is good. We posted notice online and on site. We have not received any objections to the license itself. And I can't think of anything else. I think the lease was submitted, certificate of good standing, everything that's required in our code and the state code has been met with
Okay.
no objections.
Great, thank you.
Mhm.
Attorney Dittman, can you remind us what the order of business is for this hearing?
Yes, this is a renewal, right?
Now
No,
it's a new license with a public hearing.
So a public hearing. So we just have the staff presentation. We'll then do an applicant presentation if they want to. And then we'll do the public hearing. We'll close the public hearing, motion, second discussion.
okay, great, thank you.
Yep.
Okay,
Good evening.
good evening.
I'm Erica Kaiser. I'm the attorney for the applicant. My attorney registration number is 13555. This is Mr. Harvin's Lolly, and he's the owner, the member of the LLC. We also have by virtual testimony, Eva Garrettson from Liquor Pros, and they did the liquor licensing petitioning for the area. So we'd like to hear from Ms. Garrettson first, if that would be all right with you.
Sure, good evening.
Good evening. How is everyone? Can everyone hear me?
Mhm.
Good. I don't know if I need to be sworn in. That's usually typical of this, but I don't know if that's proper protocol, so I just wanted to check.
No,
Before I
thank you for
continue forward.
asking.
You're
Go ahead.
welcome. So once again, for the record, my name is Eva Garrettson. I'm one of the owners of Liquor Licensing Professionals doing business as Liquor Pros. We are a professional survey company conducting needs and desire survey for both liquor and marijuana licenses throughout the entire state of Colorado. The business has been in effect since 2009. My business partner and I took it over in 2017, and I myself have been involved in over 4,000 surveys conducted in and around the entire state of Colorado. So just for your a little bit of background on us. Since we are a third-party petitioning company, we do not guarantee results. We simply gather the information from the applicant. We go over the type of liquor license that is being applied for, and we go out and grab samples in and around the area. If we find areas of concern where folks are signing in opposition quite a bit, we do camp out in those areas. We do also let them know that the premises does have on there a posting requirement that has the hearing date and time. So if anyone has any questions or concerns, we certainly invite them to the public hearing so that they can address their concerns directly with the applicant or in front of the licensing authority. So we did this survey on the dates of Saturday, September 23rd and Sunday, September 24th. made attempted contacts with 311 business owners, managers, and residents inside this area. We did use your petition packets. Some jurisdictions allow us to use our own. With those, we do ask them to identify themselves as a business owner or manager by circling on our packets, but we did try and identify that as well on your packets. And then we obtained a total of 105 signatures. 18 were from business owners and managers. All 18 signed in favor at 100%. And then we obtained a total of 87 residential signatures, with 81 signing in favor at 93% and 6 opposed at 7%. Typically, we do ask them to write in why they are in favor or opposed to this license. There is case law that states that if there are reasons of opposition that don't necessarily speak to the needs and desires, the licensing authority may allow those to be kicked out. But what we did is we went ahead and just did raw numbers on page 1. If we combine these totals, we actually have 99 signatures signing in favor at 94% and only 6 signatures opposed at 6%. We have done so many of these licenses in the state of Colorado right now. We recently did 6 Circle Ks in Boulder. And the typical results that we've seen with this type of license has been anywhere in the high 70s to low 80s in favor results. This one's all the way up to 94%. So given the fact that it is a high percentage, we feel that this reflects a positive need and desire for this license in the area, and that the existing outlets have not yet met that need. And I'd be more than happy to answer any questions from the authority.
Thank you. Does anyone in the authority have any questions? About the petitioning process? No. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Please go ahead.
Thank you. I call to testify Mr. Lawley. Would you state your name and address for the record, please?
Yes, my name is Harbans S. Lali.
And your address?
I live in 1360 West 13th Avenue, Brookfield, 80020, Colorado.
And you're the majority owner of this business?
Yes.
How many convenience stores with liquor, with beer and wine licenses do you have?
We have like 18 or.
And how long have you been in this business?
We have from last, for 2004, June 2004.
2004?
Yeah.
So almost 20 years then.
Yes.
And can you tell the authority, do you have a lease for this premises?
Yes.
All right, and what is your policy regarding identification and making sure that the law is followed regarding checking IDs and such as that?
When we hire any employee, first we state tell him, if you without ID or override the POS system and sell a beer to minor, you will terminate right away, no matter who you are. And we have POS system where we scan the ID, and if under 21, then POS don't allow it to sell a beer. But if an employee override, then it's a problem. And we also provide the store calendar, which one exactly say which day is over less than 21. And first we train him by the our district manager. Then randomly we check and tell him you cannot do it. And also he has to sign paper, mostly weekly basis. If anyone under 8 and 21, you cannot be any condition. And we will be sure he cannot sell a beer to minor, because we don't want to violate the law at any condition.
So you're saying you have a point of sale system that where you have to scan in an ID?
Yes.
Okay, is that new for your company?
Yeah, we put this one like 6 months ago, all the store we put a new POS system, because we had before old system, which one don't have that capability. And the later version, then we have that capability, we put the scan on or anyone buy a beer. And without scan, POS don't allow to sell a beer.
So you also have responsible vendor training for all your clerks, your employees?
Yes, we will give training all our employee when we hire, within 3 or 4 months, when it data available, then we give the training.
Do you have any questions, Mr. Lawley?
Any questions for the applicant? Trustee Dati?
Yes, I'm really happy to hear that you have a scanning policy in place. I guess I would be curious to know whether that would be in place before you began selling alcohol here in Lyons.
Yeah, we can do the training before that time.
So,
We will do the training our employee before we start to sell the beer.
okay.
Yeah, no question at all.
And I also have a question about other products that are displayed right at the counter as you're cashing out. I think they're either nicotine based or vape based. They have different flavors, etc. Is there also a policy for those not being sold to minors? And is there also a scanning policy for that?
Yeah, all the vape and cigarette.
Because they're right on the counter.
Yeah,
Is-
all the vape and cigarette, it's right on the counter, but he cannot pick and himself, cashier had to give from backside.
Right.
But we have a display on the counter.
Uh-huh. And is there any reason why it's not with the cigarettes at the back of the store where it's not right in
That,
minor's face?
that is a little bigger, don't fit in the bag with the cigarette.
And this is, I'll remind you, us
Sure.
versus the liquor
Yes,
license.
yes. This was just my protective mother coming out.
I understand.
Because I see lots of suspensions here for minors, and I just worry about other products being sold to minors.
I understand.
Yeah.
Trustee Edding, do you have any questions? Mayor Pro Tem?
I was actually just not clear of the violations that were shown. Is that under a different ownership? Those are different. Is that under your ownership or those are different owned?
Yeah, like
Entities.
last 5 years, we have a 3 violation which our cashier did, and we terminate all the 3 cashier. Because sometimes we have a lot of employees in our company, like 110 people working. And we train everyone, but sometimes he put an override. And before we have old system, which were not a scanning capability. That's why we pay the almost $700,000 for all the new PO system. Because new system have a capability for scanning.
So the answer to your question is yes, Mr. Lawley owns all those stores and they did have violations, but as you can see, they go back a long ways and there were some stores where they were just taking over the stores, and so they took over the employees that went along with those stores, and unfortunately, some of those had violations then before they could realize that they needed to be terminated. So it's been a process, but I think every day has been doing a good job in trying to find whatever they can in order to make sure that the IDs are checked properly and that service isn't made to an underage person, particularly the point of sale system.
Yeah, we have a number one, we don't want to come see here or sell a minor to beer. We are responsible, our employee, and someone is there, then he say I'm tired or busy and he make a mistake. And that's happened, that's why we put the new PO system, then it's much better now we are,
Thank you.
Trustee Doman?
So is this gonna be just beer or is there other types of alcohol that'll be sold as well?
This is beer and wine, right?
Here's one. It's the new broader fermented malt beverage license. It used to be 3-2 beer only, and then they expanded that. Now it's wine as well for the same license.
I have a question.
Hey, 1 second. Trustee Williams, do you have any questions?
And maybe this is more to staff. I don't know. Does Circle K also have the same beer and wine license?
No, they just have the FMB, the fermented malt beverage, not wine.
Okay.
Trustee Austin, did you have any?
No, good.
Okay, I think those are all our questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so now I will open the public hearing. Anybody in the room cares to testify this evening? Anybody online? I don't see any guests online. Okay, then I would close the public hearing and entertain a motion.
You got it. Oh, okay. I move to approve the application of Everyday Stores LLC DBA Everyday Store 5725 for the new FMB Wine Tavern liquor license based on the findings set forth in the staff report for the November 6, 2023 meeting. And then do I really need to go through and
Yeah.
read? Okay, based on the following additional findings. That applicant is of good moral character and not prohibited as a licensee. That the premises are, excuse me, I'm sorry. Okay, that the premises are suitable based on review of the plans submitted, and that the petition submitted by the applicant along with testimony received at the public hearing indicate that existing outlets are inadequate to serve the thirst needs of the neighborhood, and that there is a need and desire for an additional retail FMB wine licensed establishment as measured by the reasonable requirements of the neighborhood. I further move to direct town staff to notify the State of Colorado Liquor Enforcement Division of this approval.
Thank you very much. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion?
What about, because I know, the Circle K has one. What about making it similar so that no wine can be served, but they still get the same licensing?
That's not the application that was applied for, so that would be a denial on a new application.
Okay.
Any other discussion? Okay, I'll call for the vote.
And that motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Good luck. Okay, is there a motion to adjourn as the Lions Liquor Licensing Authority and convene as the Board of Trustees? Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? No. Okay.
And that motion passes unanimously.
Take a pat on the back for me for remembering that.
Good job.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Attorney Dittman. Okay, moving on to ordinances and public hearings. The first is the public hearing on public comment on adoption of the 2024 budget. Attorney Dittman, do we have a hearing first, or do we do staff reports? Do we do these two resolutions one at a time? I'm not sure based on the agenda how to move forward.
Are these up for approval tonight? I forget. Are we just doing a public hearing? Or for
There are
approval?
two two resolutions up for approval.
Okay, so we'll do a staff report. We'll have to do them separately, but they're very similar, of course. And then a public hearing for each.
Okay, so staff report for each, public hearing for each.
Yep.
We'll take them one at a time. Okay, staff report, please, for resolution 2023-66, which is the Town of Lyons budget for calendar year 2024.
Thank you. I don't know about all of you guys, but I feel like we've been doing budget for a really long time this year. But we tonight have the proposed 2024 budget in front of you for approval. As you remember, we had the draft budget delivered on October 13th and had a workshop regarding that budget on October 21st. Since that date, there have been a few changes made to the budget document just based on discussions that we had in the workshop, and I will detail out those changes for the record. So since we delivered the draft budget, we also added an increased revenue in the general fund and parks fund by a total of $57,000. to account for the additional sales tax revenue due to the removal of the sales tax vendor fee. That at the time was not approved when we delivered the draft budget, so we needed to include those additional revenues. As well as increased expenses in various funds by $16,200 for salaries, payroll taxes and benefits to update the cost of living increase for multiple positions from 3% to 5% based on inflation projections from the state of Colorado. Increased projections in the general fund, increased expenses in the general fund by $8,000 to increase the staff recognition program. Increased expenses in the general fund and parks fund by a total of $40,000 for wildfire mitigation efforts. Increased expenditures in the general fund by $6,600 for various CIRSA insurance policies that were not included in the draft budget because we had not yet received those from CIRSA. Decreased expenses in the general fund by $36,760 for the Boulder County Sheriff costs. We went back and had those discussions with them, and they were willing to decrease the 0.5 FTE for detective services in Lyons to a 0.25 FTE in 2024, with the additional being proposed in 2025. So that helped us stretch that out a little bit more and wasn't so impactful on the general fund. Increased expenses in the general fund to add $40,000 for electronic records management. That will just be the beginning of that project, which is anticipated to increase as we get a better feel for what we need. Increased expenses in the general fund and parks fund by a total of $33,000 to pursue an equipment lease for a new backhoe. So that would be the estimated annual amount for that lease. Increased expenses in the electric fund by $30,000 for a time of use study as requested by the Utilities and Engineering Board. And also increased expenses in the electric fund by $20,000 for an LED streetlight study as requested by the Utilities and Engineering Board. With all of these changes, we do still meet our current projected fund balance and reserve of more than 3 months of expenditures. So that is definitely something we always look at. We have a few funds there that are going to be using prior year fund balances, which is not uncommon for capital expenditures and debt service. The 2024 expenditures for the town are about $9.4 million, and capital and debt account for about $2.1 million of the total expenditures. The operating expenses for the town are $6.8 million, and personnel costs account for about 36% of total operating costs. The 2024 budget does include an 8.6 increase in staff salaries and benefits, which are attributed to rising inflation, CPI, and competitive wage needs. Additionally, we did include a 5% increase in insurance costs. The 2024 budget includes a $50,000 assignment on fund balance. So $50,000 from the general fund is set aside for potential clawbacks and ineligible expenses from the flood recovery projects. And in addition to that, $150,000 transfer from the general fund to the capital project fund has been budgeted to provide funding for capital projects identified in the pavement assessment in future years. With that, I'll open it up for any questions.
Thank you very much. I agree. It feels like we've been working on the budget all year. Are there questions for Director Eystone?
Go ahead. So, after I sent that email earlier, I ended up with another question. I noticed that there wasn't anything, or I may have missed it, about doing another annual report. We've done those for the last couple of years. Is there a plan to continue with that? I know it was contracted out to former trustee Greg Lowell. Is there any kind of a plan in place that's been discussed?
He has reached out and indicated he would be willing to do that again for a cost of $800 to edit it. Staff has been interested in trying to do a different format. To be less paper intensive and easier to read. So, I'm glad you brought that up. I mean, it's totally up to the board if you want to continue in the current format and, you know, only print as many necessary as people request and do the rest electronically. Or, if you would like to see us go to a more, I'll just call them more modern format that other communities are using that are more picture and chart-based, measurements, or if you like the narrative, just as a synopsis of the year. It's totally up to you. It's not a huge amount that, we have plenty to cover it for this year, yes.
So it wouldn't be a budget amendment that we would,
No.
it wouldn't be an amendment to this
That's
budget.
just an outside service.
Okay.
that we would
A
absorb.
professional service fee. When do we need to decide about the format for the annual report?
We should do that soon. I mean, we
Okay.
usually try to get staff working on it, so they have all of December, so it can be ready to be proofed in January.
So maybe we can put it on the agenda for November 20th.
Great.
Okay.
Okay, so since there's no need to have an amendment for something like that, I will not make a proposal for one. And, I did have one question. I think it was page 131. Let's just go there. I just wanted to verify that these numbers on this page are projected revenues minus expenses, but they're not in the rollover for 2023.
Which page are you referencing? I'm sorry.
Yeah, in the packet, it's page 131.
It's the 2024 projected fund balances chart.
Thank you.
Oh, perfect. Yes, those do not include any potential rollover from, well, it has the budgeted rollover, but we don't base the 2024 budget on the projections. So what that means is we don't decrease our 2023 expenditures or increase our 2023 revenues to project that, just because it's a very unknown right now. So they're based off of the budgeted project or the budget that was adopted originally in 2023, in addition to any amendments that we have made thus far or have committed to making.
Okay, thank you. That's all I needed.
The good news with that is that typically we do see budget savings for one reason or another, or increased revenues. And I do anticipate that happening again for the end of 2023. We won't really know the amounts until further into 2024, early spring.
Fantastic. All right, thank you.
Anyone else have any questions for Director Eystone? Okay. Well, then I will open the public hearing. Gil, let the record show Gil Sparks is shaking his head. He would not like to testify about the budget. I don't see anybody online. I would just like to comment before I ask for a motion that we received, for the first time, we solicited community feedback and we received 45 responses, Director Eystone.
Excuse me, 45 in-town residents, and I believe it was 54 total. But
54 total responses, 45 in-town residents. And so I would like to commend staff for that effort and Director Eystone for assembling those responses. I think it was wonderful to get the community input on the budget. And we don't have anybody to testify tonight.
No, and that's not untypical.
Yeah.
We did send the budget workshop recap out
Yes,
to the
thank
public too in advance of this. We did that last week with what I thought was a really nice format. Kim Mitchell worked out.
Yes.
And worked with Cassie on. And I think another attempt to let people know and be transparent, and this is what we're planning to do. This is what we did in 23. This is what we're planning to do in 24. And you know, I thought it was a great document to get out there.
Yeah, I do too, and thank you for the work. I think the transparency is great. So then I would entertain a motion.
I move to approve resolution 2023-66, resolution of the town of Lyons, Colorado, summarizing revenues and expenditure refund, adopting a budget for the town of Lyons, Colorado for the calendar year 2024.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, trustee Delman. Any further discussion? Nice work. Thank you very much for all your hard work on this budget. It's a tough year and who knows what 2024 will bring. But I feel like we're well equipped to manage it. So thank you very much, staff, and I will call for the vote.
And that motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. Okay. Next up is resolution 2023-67, a resolution of the town of Lyons, Colorado, appropriating sums of money to the various funds in the amount and for the purpose as set forth below for the town of Lyons, Colorado for the 2024 budget year. Staff report, please.
This is basically very similar to the one we just had, but per Colorado budget law, after the budget has been adopted, the town board needs to set the appropriation for the year. And that's what this resolution does. Funds cannot be spent if they have not been appropriated. So the appropriation proposed is as attached.
Okay, great. Any questions regarding the appropriation of monies? No? Okay, then I will open the public hearing. I don't see anybody in the room who would like to testify. I don't see anybody online who would like to testify, so I will close the public hearing and entertain a motion.
I move to approve resolution 2023-67, resolution of the town of Lyons, Colorado, appropriating sums of money to the various funds in the amount and for purposes set forth below for the town of Lyons, Colorado for the 2024 budget year.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, trustee Elson. Any discussion? Okay, we'll vote.
And that motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. We have a budget.
Woo-hoo.
Congratulations to us all. Okay. Next up, we have consent agenda. Clerk Vasquez, will you please read consent into the record?
I will. Item 1 is resolution 2023-68, a resolution of the town of Lyons, Colorado, approving an extension of the intergovernmental agreement with Boulder County. Item 2 is resolution 2023-69, a resolution of the town of Lyons, Colorado, approving a professional service agreement with CPC Constructors for the Public Works Salt and Sand Project. Item 3 is resolution 2023-70, a resolution of the town of Lyons, Colorado, approving the 2024 salary schedule. Item 4 is resolution 2023-71, a resolution of the town of Lyons, Colorado, approving a contract with Boco Tube and Supply LLC to operate the concession stand in Laverne Johnson Park. Item 5 are the October 16th, 2023 regular Board of Trustees meeting minutes. And item 6 are the November accounts payable.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Anything anyone would like to remove from consent this evening? Yes.
I'd like to remove number 1 and number 2, please.
Anyone else? All right. So let's vote on consent as amended.
That motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem, item 1.
Yes, it's really, it's pretty minor. So it's resolution 2023-68, but in the staff report, it says 2023-66, which is actually the budget that we just passed
Good
a couple ago. So it's only in the report. It doesn't,
It's in the staff memo.
right.
Yeah.
But just from a clerical standpoint, if somebody ever goes back and reads it, it can get confusing.
Sure, we can correct that.
Okay, so other than that, I move to approve resolution 2023-68.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion? Okay.
And that passes unanimously.
Okay. Number 2.
On number 2. So
Let me go to that page. It's 233. Okay, also in this, if under item, it says resolution 2023-70, when actually I think it's supposed to be 2023-69. Because 70 is actually the classification and pay plan.
And again, just in the staff memo,
Yeah,
It is in,
not on the resolution.
on the resolution
Right.
itself, it's 69.
it's 69, it's correct,
Yeah.
okay, great, thank you. But I did have a question about this one also. So this would be coming out of the street fund is what's being proposed. Why wouldn't this come out of PRC? Public Works and,
There's Dave and Cassie.
Who would like to take that question?
I think Dave's first.
I think if I understand the question, this is general fund streets. So this is the salt and sand we use for the streets.
So it's not coming from the streets capital.
that's the question, it's not coming from the capital streets fund,
No, general.
just
Coming from
general.
General fund.
General fund.
Okay. I just don't envision that general has an actual little street funds thing, but I guess it does.
And there's a whole section on street maintenance and repairs.
I just want to make sure it wasn't the capital one. Okay, and that's the case, I'm good.
Okay, would you like to make a motion?
I move to approve, resolution 2023-69.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? No? Okay.
And that motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Very much.
Mayor, if I may.
Yes.
I apologize for those changes. We try really hard. That's when last minute things are pulled on the day of packet day. And they, someone says, we're not quite ready, pull them to the next one. And then Dolores and I are trying to correct, the agenda, the staff memo, the resolution, the agreement to all match. And so
The numbering
I
changes.
apologize that
Cascading.
we missed those two, so.
And if you see a clerical error like that, errata, just email me. I can fix that and update the packet online, so that way it's correct online for the public to see, not at the last minute. That
I
helps.
just saw it last minute.
Well,
But yes, no, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah,
We're
just email me
constantly
anytime.
telling staff, please not at the last minute.
Well, you have that eagle eye, which we appreciate.
Yes, we do
Yes.
appreciate
I'm
that.
sorry.
No,
Okay, thank you. So we'll move on to boards and commissions, and tonight it is my pleasure to appoint Kristen Barnes to the Alliance Arts and Humanities Commission. I'll make a plea for those with any interest to apply to the Lions Historic Preservation Commission. It's a wonderful group of people led by a wonderful liaison and could use some members to keep the momentum going forward on the commission. Okay, so now we have general business, discussion direction to staff on Raul Vasquez lease of town-owned property.
Thank you. Tracy's gonna give the report.
Evening, everyone. So just a general update, we, have been working with all the business or leases that we have with business, the leases that we have business owners about the width of the trail. And I think we worked everything out with, Spirit Hound, and then we met with Raul and he had some concerns about the width of the trail as well. His current lease agreement stated the trail would be no more than 10 feet, which technically the trail itself is 10 feet. However, it didn't consider needing a clear zone. And basically a clear zone is just like if you lose control of your bike or something, it just like give you a shoulder to safely kind of get control. And then we want to put up fencing in certain areas, so we needed a little space for that. So he said he's willing, he could work with us to do a 14 feet, allow 14 feet for the trail and the clear zone and the fencing on the west end of the property. And then as you get more east, then he didn't care if we went up to 16 feet there, which is about where we're at when we get to Spirit Hounds anyway. So it seems doable. We have a few tight areas along that property because you have stormwater inlets where the road narrows and you can't really mess with the stormwater. You've got like a dry stack sandstone retaining wall for drainage, and so you can't be right on top of that and you have to be out from that. So there's definitely some constraints to work with, and it does affect the area that he's been utilizing for his business, but he's definitely working with us to move his items, and so we're just trying to work together to make it all work for everyone. His other concern is fencing. He just is worried about people walking through that area and seeing his materials and what he has there. It's kind of and I think, Clark's Hardware had the same concern about safety. They do have semi trucks that come through there, but also I think they just want to block the view of the pedestrians and other multimodal users from fully seeing what they have, their equipment or whatever. So he wanted a 6-foot fence initially, and we did meet and agree to more of a 5-foot fence. And because it's in a floodplain, I attached some examples of some fencing that's already out there, where there's some gaps in the fencing for floodplain, but also he was willing to work with that. So we just kind of need direction if the board is okay, because I think we did talk about having 6-foot fencing on both sides of the trail and didn't feel like it was aesthetically pleasing. So it would be like a 5-foot on one side, but the other side would be a 3-foot 3-rail fence, kind of like what we have in the parks, on the ditch drainage side and stuff. So, and then when you get to Spirit Hounds, it changes where you got chain link on one side and then that 3-foot on the south side, but on the north side, it'll be that 3-foot 3-rail fence. So we've got a couple medians of fencing going on through those businesses to help address their concerns and keep people in the trail area and not wandering off onto their businesses and stuff. So, so that, so if we do go this direction, we would have to amend Raul Vasquez's lease agreement to allow for the wider trail and the fencing. But overall, that's the general update. We're just looking for direction on the fencing and amending his lease agreement.
Thank you. So I'll start off with questions because we've been emailing a little bit about this. And my first questions when I saw this were, how much is this fence going to cost and who is paying for it? So, and I know you sent me an email, but maybe you can answer those questions.
Yeah, so I don't have an exact estimate for the fencing, because I need to get a measurement of linear feet, and probably, but I did kind of do a general lookup of the costs of different types of fencing per linear feet. And, let me see here, find that email, but it was like, I think a chain link fence was between like $12 to $33 per linear feet, and wood picket fence is like $14 to $36 per linear feet. So pretty close in cost. That we don't have as many pickets, so it could be a little lower. And I do feel like it would be eligible through the funding that we have. CDOT will review the plans at 90%. And if they have any issue with the fencing, they'll let us know at that time. It should be eligible through, and then the other portion of our funding is through Boulder County. And so they also have to review the plans and give comments back, but I just don't see that the fencing would be a big issue, but if it were, I feel like then we would have to come back to the board and ask for direction again, if it's costly and, not being supported by the funding sources that we have. So that's kind of the suggestion at this point.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then one more question with the expanded trail portion, the lease cost per square foot for Mr. Vasquez, is it now the same as for Spirit Hound?
Yeah, let me pull that up. Well, I guess I haven't recalculated what his square foot would be, but I mean, they're both paying, just a penny or two difference in their square foot.
It's all between 12 and 14 cents per square foot
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
to lease the space, so they're very similar. And Mr. Vasquez told me personally, he said, if you'll work with me on this fence, I'll even maintain it every year.
Okay,
That has a value to us as well.
yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, I kicked off the questions. Anyone else have any questions?
Well, I have one. My only question is, so I like the idea of the wooden fence, but could the wooden fence go all the way down instead of going wood to chain link? Would it matter to?
Well, the wood fence, behind Blue Mountain Stone would be on the north side of the
Nothing on the
trail.
other side.
And but when you get down behind Spirit House, the chain link is because of the ditch, Highland Ditch.
It's the other side.
Yeah, it's on the south side. So, yeah,
No.
Let's get it.
yeah.
Would raise it.
Other question?
You raised the questions I had.
I have a question. Aesthetically, I actually think that, is there a reason why we can't do the same fencing that's like in Bone Park where it's just a 3-rail?
That's what we proposed, but he doesn't want people being able to see like all his equipment and tools and things that they could come later, and it's a security issue, he feels like, and a safety thing with the semis going by and stuff, so he wanted something a little more higher, less visibility to the business.
Okay,
Yeah, but on the other side, it will be that
split rail.
split rail, yeah.
Okay. Are you asking for which one of these two we like more?
No,
No.
we just want to give you an update because we all need to bring forward a new lease, because his current lease he only has 10 feet in there. And so if he gives us this additional feet, he would like this in exchange. And we would just draft a whole new lease to start fresh
Okay.
in January. And initiate a new 3-year term. We do want to note he's been very cooperative.
Yes, yes.
That's great.
Questions? No? Okay. Well, thank you very much for talking to Mr. Vasquez about this. I'm very pleased. What do we think? Do we want to direct staff to create a new lease?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
It'll come back to you.
And we're okay with the fencing options. Okay.
Yes, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Okay, now let's move on to camping alternatives. We had a workshop earlier where Director Cosgrove presented us with some alternatives for dry camping. And now's the time to talk about it and decide what we want to do. So Mayor Pro Tem, would you like to kick us off on the dry camping?
Well, sure, unless, is it necessary? Would Cosgrove, Director Cosgrove like to say something, or is that necessary for that? No? Okay, well, I'm just gonna go straight into my opinion. Why not? I'm just super happy with this presentation. This meets my wish list and hope for something that Trustee Edding and I had wanted, in this term, and I think this is a great plan. I think you all thought of all of the areas that could be possible concerns and challenges, and I think you've addressed them well. I like that this is sort of a what's the right word? It's in here somewhere, but kind of let's test it out this year. It doesn't have to be you know, and then it can be changed and adjusted based on what you find. So thank you for doing the work, and I'm in favor, and actually I have nothing to change.
So you're in favor of to be clear, the dry camping on Second Avenue?
Yep.
And to try it out for next year and see how it goes?
Yep.
Okay, so with no minor improvements other than signage and the Reserve America thing?
Exactly.
Yeah,
Just as it was discussed.
okay.
Yeah.
And then trustee Eddie?
I would like to say overall, I'm in favor, but I'd like to reiterate what we talked about in the workshop. If some of it could actually be reduced in price, so that it's attainable by people with lower income. I think 35 is a little high. I don't mind 5 of the spots going down to 25, even if you take some of the more expensive spots and raise them by 10. So it's not a less, but I just think we should offer some services to people that are of lower income in order to be able to both tent camp and dry camp.
So maybe the direction would be for Lisa Ramsey to take a look at
Yeah.
other ways to tier camping.
Yeah.
Is that?
Yeah, that would be my suggestion. That's fine.
Okay. Anyone else?
I kind of feel like with Laverne Johnson to get the electricity and charge those higher prices there, and then at Second Avenue, have it dry camping and have low fees, because if it's $30 or $40, I know I'm gonna sleep in the Walmart parking lot. Just what I always do. But yeah, I wouldn't pay that much to sleep somewhere like that.
Okay, so are you saying that you would like to move forward with the electric in Laverne Johnson Park, or should we get more concrete pricing on that first?
Yeah, I think more concrete pricing, but I do think the electric would be a good idea there, and I think just keeping it inexpensive and simple at Second.
Okay. Okay, trustee Williams?
I know it's not a budget for next year, but I would be in agreement to look at providing electricity in Laverne Johnson Park here, dry camping. The only other question I have is a couple of the trustees seem to think that maybe 5 days is excessive as a limit, that like normally this would be 1 day, would be better off saying 3-day maximum as opposed to 5-day maximum. That might feel better to me.
I would agree with you, 3-day maximum for the dry camping.
Yeah, I would have no issue with 3-day maximum, but also not available during the day. It's an
Yeah.
evening too.
Yeah. Works to me. So it sounds like that works for everybody. Okay. Any other comments?
I agree. I have one question though, because I know, so I don't know if the money could be used for it, but we saved the money from the parade. That was 6,500. If we don't have the streets shut down for the winter, that'd be another 6,500. Could.
Oh, for the holiday parade?
Oh,
We don't
yeah.
do the same. Could that money go to?
I don't think anybody's talking about not having the holiday parade.
Oh, no, I'm not saying not having the holiday parade, but I'm saying we
Okay.
saved 6,500
Yeah.
from that. Could part of that go towards part of the electrification and take out some for what you want to do for?
Yeah, they're
The
two
winter.
different funds.
Okay, that's what I was
Yeah,
curious.
so one is Parks and Rec Fund and one is the general fund.
Okay.
But we can, I believe Director Eystone said she plans to have additional rollover from the general fund this year. So if the board, if we want to get some potential costs for adding electric to those spots at LNJ, you guys can still easily take action to roll that over and do this still in 2024.
Okay, well, let's find out how much that will cost.
Yeah.
And then see if we can find the
No,
money.
but I'm all for it.
Okay. All right,
Did you
have
also
one?
just want
Yeah.
to say, thank you for the great work on this. I really appreciate it. It was well done. Thank you, Dan.
Thank you. All right, Director Cosgrove, do you have any questions for us, or are we? You know,
No, I think it was great feedback and good direction, and we can get Second Avenue prepared over the winter time and ready for spring based on that feedback. And I think working with Director Kaplan, I should be able to get electric costs for electric put together for Laverne pretty quickly, so we could have a good understanding of that.
great, thank you very much, appreciate it. Okay, trustee reports, trustee Elson, let's start with you.
There actually hasn't been any meetings since our last meeting. There's one this Thursday for Sustainable Futures, but I will not be able to attend, so I'll have to get the minutes.
Okay,
So we, somewhere else.
thank you very much. Any questions for trustee Elson? All right, trustee Dati.
The EBC met on October 17th. I explained about the elimination of the vendor fee. We talked about wayfinding and how to make it feel more like Lions. We talked about the ambient lighting and whether it was going to be year round or not. I mean, great. We talked about marketing and whether we should rebrand or not. Since that was your question from the last board meeting, we talked about a survey coming regarding governance and succession planning for 2024. There is an update from the Creative District. I think they're hoping to have their website up and running by January 1st. That sounds like a 501c3 is in process. They are looking for a general manager who will champion the cause. That sounds like Planet Bluegrass is motivated to work with the creative district at the MoCon building. Great. Talked about events that we could, a monthly event that we come up with, where there's a Google Doc going around to add events to that, and possibly collaborating with Planet Bluegrass. And we talked about some updates regarding the new outdoor store that's going to go in May or June. And I think we're hoping to maybe get a hold of a couple of businesses that just have seemed like they have been closed for a long time. And it's been difficult to contact them. I think there might be some business owners who are interested in maybe getting hold of these property owners to inquire about, maybe taking over that lease or that property or expanding, and I think it's been difficult to get a hold of some of these property owners. The Chamber of Commerce met on October 25th, and I was happy to see that Tim was there. There were only a few members, 2 members actually from the Chamber of Commerce plus the executive director, and they were wondering if maybe the town of Lyons could host an event in partnership with the chamber. So that was a conversation about what that event could look like. We have a list of ideas here, and if maybe I know we haven't budgeted any money for that. We haven't determined which event that would be, but there was all kinds of ideas around a porch fest and Alliance Town Showcase, Christmas market, a wine and food festival. I mean, just a lot of different ideas that were thrown around. I attended the electrification event, the Send a Pledge with Mayor Rogan. And then the Housing and Human Services Commission will meet on Monday. The only update I have from the Lions Valley Townhomes is that there are 4 leases remaining to be signed from the certificates of occupancy that were issued over a month ago. And hopefully those leases will be signed before Thanksgiving. So that would bring us to a total of 12 families in the single family homes. Building A, which is where the first 4 apartments are, still needs a certificate of occupancy. And it was my understanding that all that needed to happen was this fence, but I think there also has to be an inspection from the architect, and hopefully that will happen sometime soon, because from what I've observed, the certificate of occupancy is what the town signs off on, and that is like the first step in a series of steps. Then you have to have the architect sign off on construction pieces. You also have to have the Highland Property Management sign off on everything in working order so that aren't any maintenance issues, after the fact. Then there's the compliance piece. So there's just lots of steps. I just would like the public to understand that just because the town has signed off on a certificate of occupancy doesn't mean that people can move in the next day. I would love for that to happen. I would love nothing more, but actually, as you can see, it's been a month since the town has signed off on this last certificate of occupancy, and we're still waiting on 4 leases to be signed. So I would hope, and I know it's the Highland Property Management Company's hope as well, that, starting December 1st, maybe we can start moving to the buildings. Moving some tenants into buildings. Yeah. So that's all I'm going to say about that. I'm not going to say anything else publicly.
Thank you very much.
Mhm.
Are there questions for trustee Dati?
I do not have anything. The UEB is on pause because Chairman Kerr is, I believe, in Europe.
He's in India.
He's in India. There you go. And the Student Advisory Committee has not formed the quorum yet.
Okay, we'll keep working on that.
Good, the book is football this weekend
There is football this weekend.
at Lions High School,
Lions High School, second round of the playoffs.
Which day?
Saturday.
1 o'clock.
I think it's gonna be 1 o'clock. yeah.
Here?
I think we're playing South Creek.
Yeah, Duck Creek, we're playing.
Duck
Yeah,
Creek.
area.
So, and they're coming all the way from effectively Utah.
Yeah, it's
They're
pretty far.
like 5 miles from the Utah border.
Wow.
So we've got people coming in from a long ways away.
Okay, well, maybe you can, recruit people at the game.
Sure.
Thank you. Pro Tem?
Yes, I was not here for the last PCDC workshop, but you all held it together, so I think you know, and then pretty much everything that I would have discussed was discussed during executive session, so I really have nothing to add at this time.
And Parks and Rec has not met since our last meeting, so I have nothing.
Okay, then reports tonight then, except for trustee Dati.
So concerns on the HPC, just in being able to get a quorum together, so we really need, the members. Next meeting is scheduled for next Wednesday, hopefully there will be enough people there to be able to hold if we can. If nothing else.
Thank you for continuing to try. Okay, so let's see, trustee Dati will be joining me for the mayor's party at Casa Bonita on Friday. Thank you. Trustee Dati has never been to a Casa Bonita before. Oh, you did go once. Okay, okay. Okay, so great. So we will report back. It's the Metro Mayor's Caucus social gathering. Thanks to Mayor Adam Paul of Lakewood for arranging this after months of harassment by the Metro Mayors. So that'll be fun. As Edward Keene mentioned, trustee Dati and I went to the Electrify Everything event, which was terrific. What else do I want to say? I joined the Metro Mayor's Caucus Legislative Caucus. So our first official meeting is Friday, and I did that so that there would be a voice for small municipalities at the Metro Mayor's Caucus as we keep looking at the legislation that's going to be coming down the pike. I think it's important for us to have a voice in that. And other than that, I just want to say again, kudos to staff for the pivot on the Halloween event. It was super fun. It was really great to see kids running around like little sugar fueled maniacs, having a great time, not having to worry about cars or streets, and just being able to just enjoy our parks. I think it was a great time. And for the beautiful job that we did for Priscilla's memorial. It was very special. So thanks for that. I'm really looking forward to the Parade of Lights.
Oh, I do. There is an important question regarding the Parade of Lights. Is the Board of Trustees going to have a float?
That is the question, because the mayor no longer needs to drive Santa.
And I have a golf cart and you have a golf cart.
Town has a golf cart.
Town has a golf cart.
Well, let's think about that, and can we include that as an agenda item for November 20th? Sure.
We need something bigger than a golf.
I know, I'm like.
So let's put on our thinking caps for that, and
I can just, I'm already on this.
and we'll discuss. Okay, did you have something?
I do. I had 2 items I should have mentioned. One was there were some questions on when we were going to have the controlled burn of the slash
Yes,
piles
thank
at
you.
Martin Parcel. Because our agreement was once we had 6 inches, or once we had a snow covered ground. I got confirmation today that they're referring more like when there is snow on the ground for several days. They want to do it while there's snow on. the
Oh, I
ground.
see, okay.
So, we are going to, we've kind of put them on notice that as soon as that happens, we'd like to be in the queue for that because it's not very often the snow lasts that long here, so. But that is on our radar. And second of all, I got notified today by the State Historic Fund that they approved Laverne Johnson's statue and accessories for the corner of the depot lot.
Yay.
So I've notified the group that's working on that got approved today to be on our covenanted land.
Terrific. Thank you for that. That's good news.
It's gonna be exciting.
Yeah.
And apparently they gave the final approval and now they have permission. They're gonna send it to the founder.
Wonderful. And LEHC will fundraise like heck.
So
Okay,
that's hot off the press today.
thank you.
Yeah.
All right, summary of action items, please.
Yep, I've got, item one, we're to research student or low income camping spot prices. Item two, research sponsorship from Camper Life companies, is that right? Camper Life or Van Life? What is
Van
it?
Life companies,
Van
yeah.
Life. Item three, research how Boulder County dedicates its open space. Item four, reach out to the state to determine when the BOT can be notified on, delinquent sales tax. Item five, the board would like us to e-blast that applications for the parade are open and available. Item six, complete the survey to confirm eligibility for the class action suit. Item seven, the everyday liquor license was approved and I'm to notify the state. Item eight, draft a new lease for Raul Vasquez to include wider trail and fencing options. Item nine, Lisa Ramsey to review tiered camping rates. Item 10, move forward with Second Avenue dry camping with a 3-day max that will not be available during the day. Item 11 is the board would like to see concrete pricing for electric and the additional camping spots in the Laverne Johnson Park. And item 12, a potential for a BOT float in the holiday parade.
The only thing is just correcting the 2 staff members that were mentioned.
Attorney Dittman?
Yeah, this 2 staff memos is the last thing I had, so we got it all.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, I would entertain a motion to adjourn. So moved. Second,
Second.
discussion.
And that motion passes unanimously.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Have a good night.
Good night, Brandon. Okay, how do we?